All right, so for this lesson, they are talking about scatter plots and how that relates to lines and such. So you guys actually are getting a free quick check grade just for watching this video. I am going to go over the exact quick check answers, and I rarely ever do this, so consider yourselves super lucky. As long as you pay attention, you will make a 100 on this quick check. So the first one says, which type of correlation is suggested by the scatter plot? Now these points are all over the place. They are truly scattered. We could not figure out how to draw a line through this. We couldn't figure out if it's going uphill, downhill, right in the middle. We have no idea. So this is called no correlation. And that is going to be the answer here. If it was a positive correlation, I just want you to see what it would look like. Like if you had all the points that were kind of trending up, then that is a positive correlation. Remember, we always start on the left side of the graph and we imagine our ball. This ball would have to roll uphill. If you had a scatter plot that looked kind of like this, we can tell that this is trending down. That would be a negative correlation. We already said what this is a no correlation because the points are kind of everywhere. So those are the different options that we have so far. This one is, let me see if I even have the answer choices here for y'all. Yeah, so that was no correlation. All right, the average growth rate of a cypress tree in height is about 4 feet per year. Use the data to create a scatter plot using your calculator. Then answer the question. Which type of correlation does the data resemble? Okay, so it tells you to use a calculator. So let me make sure that you know how to use the calculator. So I'm going to pull the Desmos calculator over. If you want to put a table in, you need to hit this plus sign where it says add item, and then you want to add a table. Now over here, they're not labeled X or Y, so this is something you are responsible for knowing. Whatever is on the top of the table is the X and the bottom is the Y. If they had written your table vertically, then the first column is the X and the second column is the Y. So once we know what our X and Y are, we can go ahead and type them in our table. So our X values, we're going to have 1.3. I like to just hit the enter. And then 4.1, enter, 6.2, enter, 8.9, enter, 12.3, enter. So I entered all of these X values or all of these widths. Now I'm going to go back up and I'm going to do the Y values, which are my heights. So 2.5, enter, 6.1, enter, 10.2, enter, 15.0, enter, and 18.7, enter. So I now have my entire table in here, and I'm going to make this calculator bigger. You might have to zoom out to see all your points, but here are all of our points. I did use the zoom feature to see them. And once we have our table and our points in there, we can answer a lot of questions. So let's go back and look at our quick check questions. Let me get rid of this table. All right. So it said, why can't I get to my pen? Come here, little pen. Okay, that's weird. Oh my gosh, this is driving me bananas. So once we got everything in the calculator, we could tell that this was a positive correlation because it's all going uphill. If you imagine starting your ball at the left side of the graph, it would go uphill. So that is a positive correlation. Let's look at the next one. It says use the table to answer the question, how are the variables related? So let's go back and look at our graph that we have in Desmos. So remember the X values were the width and the Y values were the height. So as the X values get bigger, as we move along the X axis and get the X values bigger, the Y values are going uphill. So as X increases, Y also increases. And I think that's what, yep, as width increases, the height increases. Let's check out the next one. So it says they've already typed in the calculator. They've got a scatter plot and they have a line of best fit. And it says using the equation, predict the average temperature in the year 2050. So our graph does not go all the way to 2050. So when they put it in the line of best fit into Desmos, it tells you that the M value is this and the B value is that. Remember, we can use that to write our equation of our line. Y equals, our slope is 0.660818, x plus b, which I totally ran out of room here. Let me just scoot it over. Oops, this is a negative. So you could have a minus sign there. You don't have to have a plus sign. Okay, so we have our equation y equals mx plus b. And we want to know what happens in the year 2050. Let me get my pen back. Come on, pen. Why won't this let me pick my pen? This is just driving me bananas. Okay. So in the year 2050, we could take that and we could substitute it in for x. So we can say, and instead of putting x, we're going to put year 2050 minus 1,242. Oops, got decimals in the wrong spot. 0.91. So we could go to our calculator, and this is how you would find the exact answer. You would type in, and let me make this smaller so I can see what we wrote. So you would take 0.660 times year 2050. That's what we're plugging in for x. And then the y-intercept, so minus this. This gives you the exact answer. It'll be 111.7669. But it just says to predict, so it doesn't have to have the exact answer. They rounded it a little bit here to 111. Now let's say that you didn't notice the M and the B and you didn't write out your equation and substitute in for x. You could also just try to follow along the graph. Like if it seems like it's going every unit over, it seems like it's going up about 10. Now that's not exactly, but you could say, okay, well, I don't know. You could try to guesstimate, but for me, it's just a lot easier to plug it into our equation of a line, y equals mx plus b, where you have the slope and the y-intercept, and then you just substitute your value in. So let's go to the next one. And it says, using the points listed in the table, calculate the line of best fit using technology. Okay. So the first thing we need to use to do if we're using our calculator is to get our table of values in there. So remember we hit the plus sign and we go to table. And then I already typed all of these in just to save us some time. But you might look over here on the graph and you might say, well, I don't see anything on my graph. That's because our x values start at 1,920. So we're going to have to move it or zoom out. You can kind of just grab your graph. Okay, see now there is my data. And you can zoom in if you want to, or you can zoom out, however you want to look at it. But there's my scatter plot. That's my data. I can tell that this is a positive trend because it's going uphill. But the question specifically said, find the line of best fit. So if I click down here, that'll bring up another box. And remember, our equation is y equals mx plus b. But that doesn't really do anything yet because our x's, this is x1 and y1. So if we want our calculator to recognize that we're referring to the table, we need to change this to y1 and x1. Now that still didn't help me. It kind of made everything disappear. And the reason is because this is not an exact equation. This is a line of best fit. So we should not have an equal sign because it's not exactly equal. So I'm going to backspace that. And oops, I'm going to go down here to my keyboard. I don't see an approximate sign, so I have to go to ABC. And here is my approximate symbol. As soon as I do that, it's going to give me all of my information for line of best fit. It's going to give me my slope, it's going to give me my y-intercept, and it even gives you your correlation coefficient, which we haven't really talked about much, but that tells us that it's a positive correlation and it's really close to a straight line. So we can get our slope and our y-intercept from that. And then that's how we know that this is the correct equation, simply because we look at Desmos and we plug in the slope and the y-intercept that it gives us. Whoops, let me get back to where I was. All right, so that's how you're going to use your calculator. And just just to go over it one more time, if you're going to start from fresh or start from the very beginning, you're going to hit the plus sign. You're going to go to table. You're going to type in all of your values. Once all of your values are typed in, I'm just going to make up 2 values here just for kicks and giggles. Once all of your values are typed in, if you don't see them, make sure you change and zoom in and zoom out and scroll over however you need to. Whoops. There's my 2 values. And then remember, you're going to go down here and you're going to start by typing in your equation y equals mx plus b, but you got to change it to x1 and y1. So x1, y1, so it knows that you're getting it from the table, and then you got to get rid of the equal sign and you got to put in, whoops, the approximate sign. And that is going to give you your slope and your y-intercept. Okay. So now that we've talked about how to use technology, I think that is it for this quick check. Yep, it is. So good luck. Well, you don't even need luck because I literally just answered every question for you. So make sure you ace this quick check.